Dynasty the king.
The debate is going to rage all week. Which tilt is harder? Travis Kelce fans who are trying to make a title push, or Jahmyr Gibbs fans and owners who are expecting an absolutely glorious rookie season? In either sense, there's no question that the joy of Lions fans as we open the NFL season is going to outweigh both. Dylan, Davis, what is y'all's first reaction to the Lions, the Detroit same old Lions, upsetting? Are we agreeing it's an upset, even without Travis Kelce and Chris Jones?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Upsetting the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I think, man, Dan Campbell, literally listening to him speak after halftime, he had me ready to go. I can only imagine. He said that after halftime, I think. Imagine what he said to the guys in the locker room. Whatever it was spot on because those dudes came out and balled. I think, yeah, it was interesting to watch. I'm sure we'll dive deeper into it, but my initial reaction is, wow, there is something going on in Motor City that is completely changing the culture, and I'm excited and I'm here for it. Davis, what do you think, bro?
Yeah, no, I sure we can say that it's an upset, but I think the Chiefs beat themselves. I mean, we're not here to give, specific NFL takes and analysis from like team standpoint, but I mean, you see Kadarius Toney had multiple times that he's going to be dropping the ball, putting themselves in a situation, one that like resulted in a pick six, which I think completely changed the like momentum of the game, and lost the game for them. But then also dropping it to get them into the red zone. So yeah, it's impressive what they're doing. I was not wowed by the Lions. I'm more excited to talk about the implications. No, I was not wowed by the Lions. What did they do that was impressive and that changed from like last year? Like, what did they do? Granted, I think we see the impact that Chris Jones has on the Kansas City defense. Granted, I mean, David Montgomery rushed 20 times for 71 yards. So you would say, okay, he wasn't as efficient, but it really kept the pace for them to kind of just build and kind of wear that defense down. So you saw that impact by not having Chris Jones. Other than that, I don't think the Lions did anything crazy. I think it was obvious that the Chiefs don't have – I just don't – do you guys really think that they were that impressive?
I think it says more about the Lions than it does say about the – listen, if Patrick Mahomes would have come back and led a game-winning drive, oh, my God. And I love Patrick Mahomes, don't get me wrong, but Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback.
If there weren't drops.
That's why, like – but Jared Goff beating Patrick Mahomes there's nothing to say there. Like, that's not impressive at all.
What did Jared Goff do that was extremely impressive?
He didn't turn the ball over.
They won a big time prime time game.
I know he hasn't turned the ball over. Granted,
champions.
Fun stat that I saw at the end of the game. I don't know the exact number of passing attempts since he's thrown an interception, but it's like third in NFL history. I want to say it's like in the 300s of he has not thrown an interception in 300 passes. So I think as a team, Goff. So I think as a team, they've created a situation where he's efficient now as a passer. He is very decisive. They're putting him in positions for him to succeed. But I was not wowed by their performance. I think it was impressive to go into Arrowhead on the night that they were going to be releasing the banner. Obviously, very impressive. But at the same time, I was not wowed by them. I'm excited though, Josh. What did you see with Gibbs? I know in a couple leagues you have some ownership. He's on your team.
I'm a Gibbs fan, absolutely. Don't have him in Yacht Club by any stretch. And I
No,
think
but I'm saying in some leagues, yeah.
No, totally. First and foremost, when you look at a Jahmyr Gibbs, you're wanting the right utilization, and that's in the passing game. I wasn't worried so much about the total touches. I think he had about 7 carries and 2 catches, and some other attempts out there that I don't think quite counted. I think one was called back for penalty. But I'm not worried about the touches. I'm worried that only 2 of them were receptions. Because if you're a Jahmyr Gibbs owner, the upside was always his ability to receive. It was always this idea he was going to be split out in the slot. And you saw a couple of those packages. Am I concerned long-term? Absolutely not. I'm not panicking, but I definitely wanted to see more of him in the passing game. I personally think that the reason you're not impressed is because you were a Travis Kelce owner and it was gut-wrenching to not have your best weapon out there. I think you share with the Chiefs fans in the frustration of, listen, I get it. The Lions beat like the third string Chiefs. Their 2 best weapons other than Patrick Mahomes weren't out there. But I think it was a big primetime win. I'm rejoicing with the Lions fans. I'm really excited. I think more impressive than Jared Goff was Sam LePorta. Dylan, are a big prospect guy. You talked about Sam LePorta and Dalton Kincaid in equal breath coming into the rookie draft. LePorta kind of balled out tonight. What were your thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, I thought he played really well. And I mean, targets are earned. So Jared Goff has to have some level of trust. And not only that, him earning snaps over guys that were there last year and know the offense. I think it was really good signs. And it seemed like whenever Goff was panicking or he needed to get just a few yards for a first, like it was always LaPorta. And in the past,
Yeah.
what I was worried about LaPorta was that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Amon-Ra St. Brown still had a great
Right.
game, but LaPorta ate into his targets a little bit, but he was the safety blanket. And we saw Amon-Ra used a little bit more downfield where he hasn't actually been in the past. So I think Sam LePorta opened up that offense a little bit more. Now, he did, I think, is part of the reason why Gibbs didn't get those or the catches that we were talking about.
That was exactly what I was thinking, is that he took the targets that I was expecting, Gibbs to take. But Davis, going to the other side of the ball, what did you gain from obviously I already mentioned you're the Travis Kelce owner, but you have other shares of Chiefs as well. What was your takeaway from the Chiefs pass catchers with Travis Kelce obviously not being there?
Well, that it's going to be complete like misery trying to own any of those pass catchers outside of Travis Kelce. I mean, you are going to be in shambles if you are trying to guess and play the Russian roulette game of, okay, do I want to start, Valdez Scantling? Do I want to start Kadarius Toney? Even though, and I will be honest, I would not be surprised if Kadarius Toney is not on this team by the end of the season.
Dude.
He looked atrocious.
Dude. So
And he
bad.
single-handedly lost him the game. He had a drop that resulted in a pick six, blatant drop. It's not like it was thrown behind him. It's not
That
like
wasn't
it
a
was
drop. That was a gift to
It was
the
a clear drop.
Literally
So
off the shoulder
resulting
pads.
in stride.
in stride, and then in the second half, and if you think about it as being the Pat Mahomes owner in the Yacht Club, okay, he's got 20 points at the half. I'm feeling good. I'm like, okay, he's on track maybe to get 40, 35, push it like a little bit. Finished with 23 points, right? He was struggling to get any momentum, that offense. So to reach or to kind of go to your guys' point, I think the Lions defense did a good job of stymieing the Chiefs offense and really capitalizing on getting pressure on him, on Pat Mahomes, and then forcing him to, kind of make errant throws. I say all that. There's one possession. He hits Kadarius Toney down the field, maybe a 30-yard pass attempt, would probably then get him into the red zone, if not put him in space to create to possibly score.
Yep.
Man just blatantly drops another pass.
Yeah.
So I say all of that to say that receiving core is going to be very frustrating to own. I don't think we have necessarily a Juju Smith-Schuster who pushed 1,000 yards in this offense. So I'm out on all pass catchers for this year. Granted, we get to play dynasty football, right? And I happen to be the Rashee Rice owner. I was ecstatic.
You were flexing on both of us in our private chat. You were like, Rashee Rice, wide receiver one. Stat it. Yeah, no, totally.
So
totally.
I think so. If we look historically, from a rookie wide receiver standpoint, it is very difficult to see any of these rookie wide receivers get on the field early in their career when it comes to an Andy Reid offense.
Right.
We saw that today. He had 12 snaps out of, I think, 24 in the first half, so about 50%. Don't quote me exactly on that number, but I do know he had 12 snaps in the first half. Second half, it seemed, which was strange because it seemed like he had a good first half. Second half, his snaps went down a little bit. But when he was out there, he was being hyper targeted from Pat Mahomes. Just as Dylan just alluded to, correct? When it comes to the opposite side of the ball, with the Lions.
With LePorta,
Sam LePorta.
He was
surprising commanding targets from Pat Mahomes. It seemed as though he was a safety valve. So that was exciting to see. Granted, I'm going to try and sell high. I'm going to scour the league.
I can never tell if this is a pitch tech with Rashee
Everything
Rice.
is a sales pitch.
No, for
Everything's
sure.
a sales pitch. I'm a salesman. Come on now.
I love it.
I play dynasty football.
Dylan, did you feel like those Rashee Rice targets were a safety blanket, or was Rashee Rice simply the one player? And by the way, he did have a drop before he caught that touchdown, but was he the one Chiefs wide receiver who was actually able to bring in targets from Mahomes? What did you see? Was it a mix of both?
I think it was. I would give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he was a solid target for Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes is out there trying to throw to anybody that will catch the ball at this point. And I think one thing I will say is it's one game, so I'm not going to overreact, but I'm going to overreact.
Yeah.
Rashee Rice looked better than Sky Moore.
Yep. He did.
All
He
Sky Moore
did.
last year's Rashee Rice looked better tonight than Sky Moore ever has. And Sky Moore truthers they're nervous, right? They're clenching the cheeks real hard right now, right? They're super, super nervous.
I'm a
I don't
Sky
know,
Moore
Josh,
owner. I'm a or
you were a
not a
little
Sky
bit.
Moore. I'm a Sky Moore truther for sure. I have
Yeah.
when I did my stats this year, I had Sky Moore being the guy to
Numbers
take
light.
over in the Chiefs receiving core. Numbers don't lie. The fact is, I projected numbers that just aren't going to happen because how many times for a player are we going to, it's the same critique I would have of a Jerry Jeudy. How many chances are you going to give a guy? I liked the chances they gave Sky Moore, but he didn't make them happen. Even on that last play that really mattered, they went for like 4th and 20. He had a chance to make that catch. If he makes that 20-yard first down catch, how much more does Patrick Mahomes trust him? And to Davis's point, it's big that Rashee Rice on 2 unscripted plays. Yes, it was busted coverage on the touchdown. Yes, it didn't look like he was the first read on that nice, I think about 15-yard, drag route he turned upfield. But if you're the one making the plays, it's going to open up for more opportunities. So the question is it selling high on Rashee Rice or is it buying low? Davis, which do you feel it is?
As the owner, I'm trying to sell high, right? And as the buyer, honestly, I'm not going to be buying low because you're going to an owner that's going to be telling you, oh, he's a rookie wide.
Saying what you just said.
The same spiel that I'm trying to give you, I'm not going to go try and buy low because you're going to have an owner being like, no, rookie wide receiver, the opportunities are there. But to be quite frank and blunt with you, I am out completely on this offense from a wide receiver standpoint. You want Travis Kelce, maybe you want Isaiah
Running back room's
Pacheco.
not any better.
Okay, huh?
Yeah,
so the running back room's not any better, honestly.
No, I mean, no, and then you have Drake McKinnon, who last year was a safe flex, who got 1 reception for 10 yards and 0 carries, I believe. So
it looked bad.
So, but Josh, something I do want to touch back on Jahmyr Gibbs, right? We talk about, you were a little disappointed. You were expecting not the total touches to look differently, but the landscape of the touches and for them to be more reception instead of carries.
Totally.
I'm a little worried and a little concerned, not just from like a redraft standpoint. And yes, obviously we're talking about this current year because now points are being scored, but just in general with his frame, is this ideally what they're going to be looking to have him do, where he is not getting the carries between the tackles and he's not going to be getting those high valuable carries in between the 20s? It's more so going to be he's being put out in a space and he's having to create plays, which he can. But my point is like, okay, if we're viewing him, he's currently valued on KTC as the RB3, right?
Right.
You're expecting somebody that's not only going to be getting valuable carries, is going to be getting a ton of receptions, but is going to be somebody that you can rely on a week-to-week basis just based off one game. Hear me out. I get it's 1 game sample size.
Totally.
It seems like it's going to be like a explosive play, hit, or not getting a ton of volume miss. Am I missing something?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's the long-term value you have to continue to buy into because you use such a high rookie pick on him. No one worth their salt in Dynasty should sell Jahmyr Gibbs right now. So please hear that. If you are hearing and thinking about selling Jahmyr Gibbs, do not sell. But I think really back to, and I'm not saying he's going to turn into Christian McCaffrey by any stretch, but you guys remember Christian McCaffrey's rookie season where there was Jonathan Stewart, I believe it was still the back there, and they used him in between the 20s. I like that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be getting red zone touches. Do you guys remember the play? I think they ended up throwing the Amon-Ra St. touchdown almost immediately afterwards. But Jahmyr Gibbs made a cut to the outside. The play was an inside zone type play. He had a touchdown and he slipped. So the vision was there. Not just that, this guy was breaking tackles. And it seemed like that the Lions coaching staff were protecting him from himself by limiting his touches because they were pulling him out of the game. He was running, with complete lack of abandon, trying to get in there and make plays. So I love seeing that. He popped on film. Every time he touched the ball, it was electric. But yeah, I think if you're planning on winning a championship this year, the question I would have, do you trade a Jahmyr Gibbs and sell the long-term value play and how good he looked on the field for like a Saquon Barkley or a Nick Chubb if you're a win now team? Because maybe this year it's going to be a back-end RB1, maybe a mid RB2 at best because the touches are limited. Dylan, I'll start with you. Would you make that trade right now if you felt you were an RB1 away?
I mean, that's very, very team dependent. I think it would depend on what other backs you have. But I don't know if I would trade him for like a Nick Chubb, but for like a Saquon Barkley, Probably, yeah. I would probably do that. That doesn't seem too far fetched. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't. Let me ask you. Actually, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Would you do Jahmyr Gibbs or Jonathan Taylor?
Man,
Gibbs.
you got to go
Gibbs.
Gibbs right now for sure.
Gibbs.
Gibbs,
If Jonathan Taylor was on
He's
the
on the
field and
field.
playing, yeah,
So that
that
I'm
would
glad
be
you
different.
guys said that because that goes right into my point of with Jahmyr Gibbs. You, as a Jahmyr Gibbs owner, were probably extremely not you, Josh. Just I'm saying specifically, as a Jahmyr Gibbs owner, we're probably very, very high on what his potential could be. Now, in order for him to reach that potential, you got to keep in mind he's still a sub 200-pound back. He's not going to be
Right.
getting the David Montgomery carries. There's a reason
199. 199.
that's sub 200. That's sub 200.
By exactly 1 pound. By exactly,
exactly
1
1
pound.
pound.
But it matters, Josh.
It matters.
It matters.
No, and but that's the
Technically
reality
counts.
of it. Is like he just does not profile, and I think you said this, Davis. He does not profile as an elite running back because of his size. You have to bet that when he gets his carries, he's going to make the most of it. Now, I do think he will do that, but I think his production is going to be a lot more sporadic than we'd like to admit. He will have boom games, but his efficiency is going to be the key to his success. He's not going to get 20 plus carries
Volume's
a game.
just not going to be there.
It's exactly. It's just not going to, especially as long as David Montgomery is there. So to answer your question, Josh, I think I would sell him for the right guy, but I wouldn't go make a lateral move for another younger running back that accrues the same exact risk that you have with Jahmyr Gibbs. It just doesn't make any sense. If you're going to contend and you're trading him, can go to make a contender move. If you're rebuilding, don't move off of Gibbs. Just play the slow play.
Yeah.
So Dylan, real quick, or Josh or Dylan, I do have one small proposal, and then we can move on. Would you trade if you are a contender? Would you trade Jahmyr Gibbs for Derrick Henry and a late 24 first?
Probably not. No, I wouldn't, because Derrick Henry, we haven't even seen any games yet. It's not like we're in the middle of the season and King Henry is still King Henry. I'm not projecting him to fall off a cliff, but I have that fear every single time. So I want to have diamond hand with Gibbs. It's got to be a back like Saquon Barkley. It's got to be back with 2 or 3 years left where I feel very, very confident. Dylan,
also
do you
with
concur with that?
Yeah, with the receiving upside, that's why I would hang on to Gibbs. Like most of the time, most people, not everyone, play in a PPR or half PPR. At least give me the young upside. If with a guy that's already going to be volatile, like sure, I'll take the upside and passes and the little rushes that he'll get. So no, I wouldn't do that.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to preview a couple matchups that got us just salivating as the NFL slate continues to arrive. Now, Dylan, you've known me for a long time. You've seen me in a lot of settings, and one of the settings you've obviously seen me in, I have a confession to make to all the listeners of the show. If you don't know me personally, I am what you would call a male Karen, okay? I am the guy that is going to flag down the waiter if I don't like the service we're getting. And the only complaint I have about this Thursday night football game is that I'm getting a delicious fantasy appetizer, and then I feel like I'm waiting too long for my meal. Tomorrow, which is going to be Friday when you guys should be listening to this, as well as Saturday, is going to feel so long between now and the rest of the NFL slate.
It's college football.
So, yeah, fair.
Can we talk about how this guy just called himself a male Karen? I mean, that's
the thing. We exist. I'm the one who reads the HOA association rules.
Keep going.
That was.
I know who I am. I'm comfortable with who I am. Yeah, like I just listen. I'm one of those people. Like, I don't understand. Where's the customer service? I just don't get it. My point being, I really want to look at the menu here of NFL games coming up because, guys, I am just. This did nothing. Watching the game tonight did nothing to satiate my hunger for football. It just made me crazier. The game I am the most excited to watch, other than my Cowboys, because I'm still a Cowboys fan, as you guys both are, has got to be the Chargers and the Dolphins. There are so many fantasy storylines that I'm excited to see unfold. The first, the Dolphins' backfield posed like a minefield situation the entire offseason. Was it going to be Kareem Hunt? Was it going to be Jonathan Taylor later in the year? And then it ended up being no one. And now you have Jeff Wilson on IR. So it's really clear that it's going to be Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. The question is, how much are they going to be used? Devon Achane, he's almost like a discount Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a lighter back who's got electric speed. Dylan, you watched him a lot in college. Do you think Achane is going to get more work to Gibbs, less work? And can he do significantly more with it than Gibbs did tonight?
No, the answer is no. He's not going to get more work. That's for sure. He's tiny. He's not a big guy, but I mean, they're the same exact profile. Like that's just how they profile as backs. They're going to need very explosive plays and be highly efficient to be effective at all. it's too early to say that. I mean, I'm not going to go too crazy and say he's going to be better than Gibbs was with his carries. I don't think so. What I will say is that Miami offense as a whole it's just a track meet, bro. They're a 4x1 relay team. Like you've got
Yeah.
Waddle, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, bro. Those are all 4-3 guys, 4-3 sub 4-3 guys almost, Olympic speed. So Devon Achane, I like Devon Achane. I liked him as a prospect. I think he's an explosive player, but just like Gibbs, he's not going to get a lot of carries, and they're not between the tackles guys, so they're going to have to be highly efficient and break off some really long runs. But what I do like about the Miami offense in that backfield, call me crazy, I like Raheem Mostert. I think Raheem Mostert, if he could stay healthy, he's going to do very well in that offense. I don't
He
know.
always has when healthy.
Yeah, he has when healthy. I think with Devon Achane still hurt right now too, so you can't forget that. So I would say, I would like to I'll probably try and go buy Raheem Mostert. Honestly, I'm going to tell you guys
For
to
what,
go
though?
buy Raheem
And
Mostert.
I literally was just going to ask that. For what?
Yeah.
If you're a contender, are you taking
if I'm a contender, I'd send a late second. Yeah. If I have my second, I'd send a late second.
So dumb to me, bro. There's that's so dumb.
Well, who are you? Who else? What running back are you getting? Starting running back are you getting for a late second?
Other than Raheem Mostert?
Yeah. Hold up a second. I mean, we have a direct correlation. Last year, I was able to, or actually, I think I sold like Miles Sanders for a second rounder last year. So we had a Miles Sanders that went for a second round pick last year. I'm not spending that to go get a Raheem Mostert who's 31 years old.
Answer my question though. Who are you getting? Who else are you getting for a late second? We're in a 14-team league like the Yacht Club.
I think this brings up a great point: is that the economies change when NFL games start happening.
When, like the points are being scored?
Yeah, no, totally. Because you look at the matchup and you're like, oh, if I need a running back and I have an extra second, Raheem Mostert is at least tempting. In terms of other running backs, Dylan, I think especially in week one, there's nobody because everyone thinks their team is going to go win a championship. Maybe a Samaje Perine, but you would probably argue that he's not going to be starting because Javonte is
over Perine.
Yeah. I'm just simply saying it's that tier of player. It's not someone super attractive. And to Dylan's point, Raheem Mostert could have a really good day for fantasy because of that track meet speed. But Dylan, what about the pass catchers? Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, that seems like an easy thing to stat out. Those guys are going to get fed targets, excited to see. But what about the Chargers side? You went on record by saying Mike Williams is going to go down in dynasty value. Are you sweating a little bit as the Kellen Moore offense gets ready to debut?
Not at all. No, I still don't believe in Mike Williams at all. I think this is going to be the Keenan Allen show this year. I think QJ will get baked in there a little bit. Mike Williams will have his games, but the thing about Mike Williams is he's never sustained success. That's why I don't buy into him. Like, it's so disappointing when you start off with a top 5 wide receiver and then end with a bottom 50 wide receiver. Like, that's just, if he does, I'll tell you what, if Mike Williams this season goes out and balls out consecutively, sell him at his peak. I'm not buying into it. Like,
what is consecutively? Is it 3 games? Is it 2 games?
Honestly, for me, as soon as he drops a 20-30 bomb, he's off my team. I'm selling him for a first, whatever I can get for him, because I can guarantee you when he goes off for whatever 130 yards and 2 tutties, he'll do that off of 6 receptions. I'm selling him right away. I just don't want to play the game. I'll take the first or I'll take a second in a younger player. But I think QJ, and I'm going to pose this question to you, Josh, as a QJ owner.
Oh, yeah. You see what I did there? I deflected my concern.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm not going to take the heat for that. I'm on record saying that I don't buy into QJ either as a prospect. You own him in the Yacht Club. He's on your team on the Yacht Club. What are your thoughts on how he's going to bake into this offense?
I think early on, he's not going to bake in much. I was listening to a Justin Herbert interview. I believe it was on the Rich Eisen show. And he didn't mention, when asked about how excited he was for the season, he talked about Mike Williams, he talked about Keenan Allen, and I think he also mentioned Gerald Everett. QJ never came out of his mouth. And those are the things I look for when I'm consuming all this media, is like, who are they bringing up organically? Who are they talking about factoring into their offense? I still believe in QJ long-term. I'm not concerned. I'm not panic selling by any stretch. I always felt like this was a developmental prospect. He's got the physical tools. The tools between the ears need to develop for him to understand that playbook and work into the offense. But I will not lie to you. It doesn't feel good when someone who was the 107 in your rookie draft, thankfully I'm rebuilding, I'm tanking. It's not as big of a deal for me. But if you're an owner that drafts him at the 107 and expected him to contribute, I wouldn't be expecting much. I expect like 3 or 4 targets on limited snaps.
So if I as a person that has 4 second rounders in 2024. If I
Yeah.
came and I offered you 2 early seconds, would you take it for a QJ?
No, that's panic selling. I think that's panic selling, and his youth will maintain its a great example in the Yacht Club. Sky Moore, I, by the way, was still a Sky Moore truther, wanted to believe in Sky Moore. I'm getting very concerned. I was still able to sell him for a second this last offseason, even though he had an atrocious rookie season based on the youth and the upside and the quarterback he was connected to. Herbert, is an incredible quarterback. And Davis, I would love to hear your thoughts on what you project for him, not just in this Miami game, but season long. But QJ's connected to a great QB, so I think I'll be able to resell if I really do panic. But I can give myself 8-9 games before I do that. But Davis, what do you expect out of Justin Herbert this season? Is he going to return to form? Is he perhaps someone you're looking to buy right now before the NFL game kicks off?
Absolutely. But the thing about it is, if you're trying to buy him, you need to come up off almost everything that you have on your team to get him from the owner that has Justin Herbert. Because probably it's going to be, especially in a super flex league, whether it's 12 team or 14, like the Yacht Club, it's going to cost you about 4 firsts. But
Yeah.
no, I think you go back 2 years and you see Justin Herbert really not yet in the tier of the Pat Mahomes and like the Josh Allen, but you have him kind of just sitting there like, okay, this is this young prospect who has a bomb of an arm, who's in a good offense with a ton of weapons, but you just haven't seen him kind of put it together yet, other than his, I believe it was his sophomore season.
Yeah.
And then he kind of had a down season like the following year, but then you're coming into now having a new offensive coordinator who is trying to open things up. I'm expecting to see him probably, he could flirt with an overall QB1 season, just with all the weapons that he has and, the opportunities for him to succeed with the talent that's around him. And just with like what Kellen Moore is going to be doing as an offensive mind alongside him, I'm expecting him to be a top 5 QB. I know I've said this before, but I'm going to kind of reinforce that I'm all in on him this year.
Love that.
But if you're trying to buy him, you got to go give probably 4 firsts to even get the person that has him.
If someone wanted Jalen Hurts, you have Jalen Hurts in Yacht Club. If the Herbert owner came to you, which I don't believe he would ever do, because the Herbert owner is a Chargers fan. But if he came to you and said Herbert for Jalen Hurts straight up, would you take that deal? Do you project a longer career being more of a pocket passer? If he said Herbert and a second, would you start to think about it?
I am the value king for a specific reason.
Right. It's not that far apart, right?
I take value on the margins. I take it where I can.
Is the second? The second's not. No, the second's
not doing anything for me.
Yeah.
So while it entices me, I project that I do believe that Herbert could have that type of season this year. But we're coming off Jalen Hurts literally just bringing the day. It feels good as the Jalen Hurts and the Pat Mahomes owner to just have the two guys that were duking it out in the Super Bowl to be on my team and in my starting lineup. So selfishly, I don't know if I would. But
there's a price where you would, though. It does exist.
But the thing is, I wouldn't expect the Justin Herbert owner to pay up more than that to get up to a Jalen Hurts. And I think this is a piece of advice for, dynasty fantasy football owners. You're not wanting to tier up from a Justin Herbert to a Jalen Hurts, because at that line, kind of like the waters start to get muddied. At that point, I'd rather hold on to the value that it would take to get up and spend that elsewhere, especially if I'm starting to anticipate that a Justin Herbert could potentially project into that tier.
No. Before we leave the Chargers Dolphins, Dylan, Austin Eckler, is he the only running back that you're interested in the Los Angeles Chargers, or is Joshua Kelly, or maybe, and I'm just praying for this, Isaiah Spiller? Are you looking for them to get touches? Is there any value to be had there, or is it Austin Eckler and maybe they're drafting someone in a year or two?
Bro, you can forget about Isaiah Spiller. I think he's done ski. I think Austin Eckler is the running back to own, absolutely, but they're sunsetting Austin Eckler. There's no way that his production as of the last 3 years is going to be sustainable. So if you're savvy and you have the roster space, go and grab Joshua Kelly off the waivers. If he's there, if you can I would throw a third out there to try and go grab Joshua Kelly, because I don't think Austin Eckler is going to get all of the work there. And Joshua Kelly, after his performance in the last preseason game, I think solidified his spot as the RB2. So I'm not saying he's going to be a league winner or anything, but to be a savvy dynasty player and to make one of those moves that kind of gets you ahead of the ball, ahead of the curve, because if Austin Eckler gets injured or when Austin Eckler needs a break, it's going to be Joshua Kelly. Isaiah Spiller, he just looks sluggish and slow, and I just wasn't really impressed with him. So I don't think there's any other running back to own in that backfield.
I hear you.
Yeah, and I think as we start to think about, I guess, like running backs that are not as relevant as they were last year, I'm thinking of a Tyler Algier, right? So this is the matchup that I kind of want to transition us into, and I'm really excited just to see the Falcons and the Panthers because I have my guy in a Bryce Young, so I'm excited to see what he's going to do at the NFL level, to see him kind of bring his poise, all of his moxie to the NFL level and not in preseason. But I'm a little concerned, a little worried. He doesn't have Adam Thielen. From what it seems like, he's not practicing. He doesn't have DJ Chark, so it's looking like he's gonna be throwing to Hayden Hurst.
No veteran presence at all.
Jonathan Mingo, Terrace Marshall. So it's not feeling great. But then on the other side, you have a ton of weapons. You have a ton of big dynasty names in Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. I'm just excited to see, can a Desmond Ridder support that type of offense? Can he really produce a running back one and then a wide receiver one and a tight end one? Because I'm hearing a lot of people are saying no. Joshua, what do you think? Do you think he's going to be able to support those guys?
That's a great question. I actually do think Desmond Ridder can do enough to support a Drake London, not as a wide receiver 1, but as a wide receiver 2. I think we have to mitigate our expectations there. The issue with Kyle Pitts is there a top 3 finish available? Is Kyle Pitts ever going to be able to ascend to the fantasy goodness we all expected him to when he was drafted at the 104 by the Falcons? I think you're still going to be disappointed. But when it comes to Bijan, man, and I hate telling you this as the Yacht Club owner of Bijan, the Falcons led the league in rushing attempts last year, okay? They built on that strength. And the whole concern about Tyler Algiers taking carries from him, it's like, bro, you can take 200 carries from Bijan. You can still give him 280 more. The Falcons just have that type of running volume. Exactly. The other thing is, if Desmond Ridder is better than Mariota at keeping them on the field, I project them to go up about 8 to 10% of total plays on the year, which, by the way, that's a lot. That's a lot of scoring opportunities. So I don't think Desmond Ridder has to produce any fantasy goodness for himself to elevate the weapons he needs. Because all you have to do is hyper-target Drake London, hyper-target Kyle Pitts, and hand the ball off to Bijan. And there's plenty of handoffs to go around. But Dylan, do you have any different perspective on that? Any contrarian, or do you completely agree?
I agree for the most part. I think.
Love you. That's a great idea.
No, yeah, I agree. I think I want to pose the question to you guys. Is Drake London a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty? Is he a top 12? Is he a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty for you guys?
Davis, I'll let you answer this first, and I'm going to copy your homework.
I actually do believe he is. I believe he had a historic season from a target share standpoint. And not just because of that. I'm not the biggest numbers guy, like Josh Walsh is. But I do believe that, as we've said, I think 3 times, this might be the 3rd time, targets are earned. You are commanding targets. That means that you are talented. That means that you are creating separation. That means that you are creating trust. And then you see, once Desmond Ridder came onto the field and you got the separation from a Marcus Mariota, now you have a Desmond Ridder. The person he was looking at every single time, and I get Kyle Pitts was not there, but was Drake London. I mean, he was getting peppered with targets over and over again. So all you have to do is assume maybe they start to trust that offense to throw the ball a little bit more. And if you project maybe a slight increase from a passing volume in that offense, even with Kyle Pitts there, even with Bijan Robinson there, I still think you have a wide receiver who has an opportunity to produce a wide receiver 1 season. And if not, like Josh said, a wide receiver 2 season. But because of the talent and the draft capital, in my opinion, he is at least wide receiver 12 from a dynasty fantasy football standpoint.
From a dynasty perspective, like I said, I was going to copy your homework. I totally see that, not only in the range of outcomes, but we have to remember part of a dynasty value is the consistency. It's falling to that floor. And you look at what his rookie season was. I will be the first to point out that 29% of 20 attempts is not as much as 20% of 40 attempts, right? But Davis is right. He commanded the targets. I would put it to you this way. If you put Drake London on the Chiefs tonight, not only do the Chiefs win that game, but that he's getting 12 targets.
It's different. I'm
You
not
know,
arguing the talent. I'm not
no,
arguing the
and I
skill.
don't
I
think
think
you
just
are.
from a offensive standpoint, and I don't know that they're going to throw the ball more. I think Arthur Smith wants to run the ball, and they're going to throw the
Totally.
ball, obviously. But I think it's actually the reverse. It's like, Jahmyr Gibbs has to be efficient as a running back. I feel like Drake London's going to have to be efficient with his catches. He's going to have to make the downfield contested catches, and that's where he's going to get his production. So, are you guys taking Drake London or DK Metcalf?
Drake
Uh,
London.
that's the line for me. I'm going to still go DK. I don't think the age gap
Davis,
is
you
big
said
enough,
Drake.
but
Easy. Drake
Devontae
London.
yeah,
Smith
I'm
or
going
Drake London?
I'm
Devontae
going Devontae
Smith.
Smith. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's where T. Higgins or Drake London?
Drake
Drake
London.
London.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Um,
So that's kind
no,
of
here's the
Look
last
at
thing
us,
I'll
Josh.
say.
We
I
are in
know.
sync.
That was very
This is
cute.
great.
We're
was
absolutely
cute.
in sync.
You guys
Once
did the
again,
same thing last
viewers,
episode.
come to Palm Springs. There is
You-
just a bond that is created and forged there. So.
Yeah, it's fantastic. No, I'll say this last thing. The thing I like about Drake London long term, Dylan, is actually Arthur Smith. I actually think Arthur Smith is a competent, good coach. I like it when coaches go, "This is my best player. Let me hyper target him." I think Drake London may finish as a high end wide receiver 2 for multiple years. And even if Desmond Ridder isn't the long term answer, look what happened with Garrett Wilson when he jumped in value to the Jets, right? Like Aaron Rodgers goes there, and suddenly Garrett Wilson is a top 3 dynasty wide receiver. So I think
Yeah.
Drake London has that similar floor that you give him an X factor, he can jump into the top 5 of dynasty wide receivers.
I love that you brought up Garrett Wilson because I was just about to segue into Jets and Bills. That is the game that I'm looking forward to this weekend. And there's a little bit of my team mixed into this evaluation, but also it is a NFC
You can do
East
that.
showdown,
That's
and it's
okay.
Aaron Rodgers in a new uniform for the first time ever, facing off against Josh Allen. And this game has fantasy goodness written all over it, right? I mean, if you look at
Totally.
the Jets side of the ball, obviously we're looking at Aaron Rodgers and seeing how he can support, like you said, a Garrett Wilson. Does Garrett Wilson go from right now he's wide receiver anywhere between wide receiver 4 and 6 for a lot of people? Does he get into that tier? Can he jump into that Justin Jefferson, Ja'Marr Chase tier? I don't know. Can he pass up CeeDee Lamb? I don't know. We'll see. I think Aaron Rodgers, if there is a quarterback to do it, can do that. What's the split look like between Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook?
That's a good
That is
question.
going to be the
man.
$1 million question, right? Those are things that I want to see. And then you look over at the other side of the ball. Stephon Diggs is the unquestioned wide receiver 1 there. Who's behind him? I personally do not believe in Gabe Davis. I think who could step into it, and Davis,
Dalton Kincaid.
get ready. I'm teeing you off to talk about your guy. Your guy. I think
Tight end 2?
and I agree with you. I think he can be the second option in Buffalo, and that is rookie tight end Dalton Kincaid. After what we saw tonight from Sam LePorta and how he was so quickly implemented or put into that offense, how do you think Dalton Kincaid's going to do with Buffalo?
Yeah, I think we saw a feature of it in the preseason. I get that preseason is not always indicative of what's going to happen when the NFL games actually start to pick up, but you saw him lining up in a one-on-one on this in the slot against the linebackers, and literally all he has to do is make 2 different routes and just read the linebacker. And you see the way he's moving, the fluidity in his routes. They cannot guard him when he's coming downhill, and his ability to either go inside, outside, create that like one-on-one, and then have that mismatch. I think Josh Allen is going to find him as not his safety blanket, because I don't think he needs a safety blanket because
He's his own safety blanket.
elite QB. Yeah, he's his own safety blanket. He can go run it for a 25-yard touchdown. But no, I do believe that we see Dalton Kincaid this season. I don't know if it's going to happen in the first game like a Sam LePorta. He got 5 targets and 5 catches. That was the second most, I believe, catches ever from like a rookie tight end in his debut, behind TJ Hawkinson, who had 6. I don't remember the year that he was a rookie, but second most receptions as a rookie tight end in his debut. So I'm not projecting that for Dalton Kincaid in the first game of the season, but I do believe that we will see that featured. I do believe that we will see Josh Allen get comfortable with him. So I'm not going to be bullish and say he's going to have an amazing game, but selfishly, I've got him in the Yacht Club. I'd love to see him perform for me. But Josh, are you in on Dalton Kincaid being similar in production to Sam LePorta or no?
I mean, no. I still don't see it. I see the talent, I see the physical specimen, but I actually do believe Gabe Davis is a very competent deep threat, and he's going to command a set of targets, a set of plays drawn up for him.
He's just
the
like
other thing
Sky
is
Moore.
Dawson.
He just disappoints.
No, he's
Like, what
actually
is the difference in Gabe Davis and Sky Moore?
Gabe Davis had a 200-yard, 4-touchdown playoff game. Davis started the year with 90 yards and a touchdown against the Rams. Gabe Davis had games he went off. He's a
He's
boom
had like
or
3
bust
total
deep
games.
threat receiver.
Wow.
Yeah, I said boom or bust. In fairness. No, Gabe Davis, I think, is still a competent deep threat, good wide receiver. The other thing is Dawson Knox. But the last thing I'll say to go against Dalton Kincaid, because I got a surprise for you, Davis. As much as I want to attack that spicy take you made at the season preview episode, I'm starting to believe a little bit more in Dalton Kincaid. But before I do, my biggest issue with Dalton Kincaid is that Josh Allen, Davis, you said it. He is his own safety blanket. The thing that Jared Goff was doing is Jared Goff can't scramble at all. Jared Goff is a statue, and he was dumping it off to LaPorta to make guys miss. Josh Allen is a statue, connected to an F1 car. That dude will run you over and quickly. So he'll tuck it and run to pick up first downs. I don't see a world where he's dumping it off to Kincaid.
But granted, to that point, Josh, and I do just want to interject briefly. I think that's the reason why they drafted him where they drafted him with the first round draft capital, because they're seeing Josh Allen start to get older. They're seeing Josh Allen put his body in situations like, we need to keep this guy healthy. Let's get a tight end that can run in the slot, and we can have Dawson Knox blocking for us and still running routes. And a guy that can be our second option as a wide receiver / tight end. So I hear what you're saying, but
I'm glad you said that. And
to defend your
real
point,
quick, Josh, before you go on, I was going to say for the tight end position, Dalton Kincaid, if you watch his film back in college, he's not a normal tight end, right? He's not just your safety blanket tight end. He's just a bigger wide receiver. And so I think he does create that entrance. So it's not just like a dump off, but like you can line up and also line him out in like the slot and like have him line up against a safety. And there's a mismatch because of the size. So I really like that part of it. And I think to Davis's point, like I think there was a reason why they brought Kincaid in. They spent a first round pick on him, not just so that he can block. Like I think he's there because they were telling Josh Allen, stop running, do not put your body at risk anymore.
The point I will say to defend Davis's take that I have got on the record and will continue to go on the record saying I don't like. One, it's Dalton Kincaid's dynasty value, right? Davis, you brought up a stat earlier that LaPorta's 5 receptions are the most by a rookie tight end since TJ Hawkinson in 2019, which is true. By the way, we were just vetting that. It's absolutely accurate. That's how little you have to do as a rookie tight end to be relevant. So that's like, okay, wow, we're all excited about Sam LePorta. He caught 5 passes for like 40-ish yards.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, holy cow, this guy's really good. So that's the first thing, is that Kincaid doesn't have to do much to go up in value. The other thing is the NFL, when you're seeing a LePorta being used that way, when you really see even last season, you see what Travis Kelce has done to the league, maybe we need to become comfortable with the fact that running backs are disappearing and tight ends are becoming slot wide receivers. And if that takes place, then yes, maybe we need to change our opinion. But I still think based on a total targets standpoint, Kincaid's a great prospect. He'll be great with the ball in his hands. I just don't think there's enough to go around. But moving to the Jets side of the ball, Dylan, I have a story for you. You said you started Kadarius Toney in a league. There was a guy, and this is part of like NFL, opening day. You're excited to get players in. There's a guy in a league I played with that started Kadarius Toney over Breece Hall, and his excuse was, I just don't know who's going to get more carries. It could be all Dalvin Cook or Breece Hall. I have shamed him. I have left him out of my phone book. I'm like, how dare you start Kadarius Toney over Breece Hall? I think he just wanted some action tonight. But Dylan, there are fantasy players out there, not dynasty players we would play with, but there are fantasy players out there that are really concerned about Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook split. Where do you see that ending up for this game? Because that is one of the biggest questions we all have.
Yeah, I'm going to use your friend as an example, man. Like, you drafted Breece Hall significantly higher than you drafted Kadarius Toney. That was recent. So I know that's in his mind currently.
Can you just speak to him? I'll clip this and send it to him. Can you just give him a stern talking to?
Do it.
Yes.
Speak to his heart.
Listen. All right. Whenever you complete your draft, I need you to remember where and why you drafted players. Do not go and start a 15th round Kadarius Toney compared to Breece is all over the place. Let's say fourth or fifth round Breece Hall.
Oh God, that makes it sound so bad.
When you say it out loud, it just sounds so much worse. I need him to clip this and listen to it every week when he goes to set his lineup. That way he knows.
Thank you.
Do not make a dumb decision. All right. Back to the Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook split. It's going to be a split, and that's it. I think Dalvin's going to get he's probably going to get more of the carries, because the reason why they brought Dalvin in is so that they didn't have to rush Breece back. If you are a dynasty manager, clip this. Do not freak out about Breece. Hold on to Breece. This is a 1-year deal that Dalvin's on. Breece is going to get worked back in, and he will probably be the third down back eventually. You're going to see Michael Carter early on, but do not freak out. I think Dalvin Cook will be very heavily involved, but I would say, let me ask you this actually. Would you guys go and buy Dalvin Cook for any second, 24 second right now?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Raheem Mostert thing.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, if you could get Dalvin Cook for a second.
You just answered the question.
Yeah, you said full circle, baby.
I said no. I said Raheem Mostert for a late second specifically. I said any second for Dalvin Cook. So would you? Early second is different. An early second, the top 15 player next year's draft is different.
I mean, I would go get Dalvin Cook, but I think your point is correct in that Dalvin Cook probably was brought in to help start the season, and they don't expect him to have to carry the load the entire season. Davis, you wisely sold in Yacht Club Breece Hall for, what was it, like 2.5, 3 firsts?
Zay Flowers, Zay Flowers, a 24 first and a 25 first, and I would do that 10 days out of 10 days.
This was in April, by the way, and you were like, I think his value has topped off. As the guy who saw this coming, what is Breece Hall's outlook for you? Would you reacquire him for the right price? What is that price? Or are you just done with him in general?
I have tried to reacquire him, and I have been reminded what the person paid to get him from me. So no, I absolutely would. I would reacquire him. I share the same sentiment similarly to a Dylan, but I'm not buying him at a 3 first price. I'm not buying any running back at a 3 first price. And I'll be honest with you, as the Bijan Robinson owner, I would not buy Bijan for 3 firsts. We are seeing clear as day what the running back position is going to be looking like for the foreseeable future. We have Jonathan Taylor, who has been dynamic and is literally struggling to get a contract extension from his team. I would buy him back, but I probably would stop at 2 firsts. But at the same time, I don't think that the owner of Breece Hall is going to move off him for 2 firsts, unless it's like, okay, if you're coming to me with 2 guaranteed lottery picks in 2024, where I'm going to be getting one of the prospects that we've talked about in the past between Marvin Harrison, Caleb Williams, Drake May,
Brock
Bowers, etc. Then sure, I'll then move off him for 2. But outside of that, I feel like, kind of like Dylan said, if you are the Breece Hall owner, you're probably going to be hanging on to him and be patient.
Yeah, it's not like he looked bad when he was on the field. Guys, any last thoughts before we take a quick break on the Bills Jets on Monday night? Is there any underlying storyline we may have missed?
Yeah, I want to talk about James Cook just really quick, because I do think James Cook, he's seen a boost in his value over the offseason, and I know where I stand. I like James Cook. I think he has the potential to actually, he's again one of those smaller backs, right? He came in at 200 pounds, around the Jahmyr Gibbs weight, and is a little smaller. However, I think, like we were alluding to earlier, if it's not Kincaid, I think it'll be James Cook out of the backfield that's getting those passes, right, that's preventing Josh Allen from running. So just curious, what do you guys think about James Cook? Is there any interest? Would you go try and acquire him? Are you just kind of out on him, or what are your thoughts?
I think we're both people who are interested at the right price. I'm not going out of my way to go get James Cook because I've never seen him be a bell cow. Even in college, he wasn't someone known for his volume of plays. He was known for how electric he was. I'm high on Jahmyr Gibbs because he's a completely different prospect, and his college production was much, much higher, and he was a top 12 NFL draft pick. James Cook, I'm going to try to pull up where James Cook was drafted, but it was certainly wasn't.
Round. He was in the second round, and he's in a better offense.
I'm high on the Lions offense, and Chris Collinsworth wouldn't stop talking about how they finished 4th last year.
Here's
so
that's
guy. Love Chris
Here's
Collinsworth.
A guy.
I'm a huge stop it. Chris Collinsworth is a hero. He is a hero. James Cook was he was a round 2 pick 63. So I like James Cook for the right price. I'm not super high on him because if you have concerns about Gibbs, how much more should you have concerns about a guy who has less draft capital involved in him? And he's already had an NFL season. We haven't seen it. Davis, do you share my sentiments? Or
he is Devin Singletary 2.0. We have not seen any running back really carry consistent, relevance in fantasy football. Dylan, it is as old as time that we keep going through which Bills running back is going to be relevant, and you try and guess, and it's the other one. So Damian Harris, probably the weeks you try and start James Cook, you probably wanted to start Damian Harris and then vice versa. So I would
James
rather
Cook,
be out on both of them.
James Cook or Raheem Mostert?
James Cook.
I would say Raheem Mostert, actually.
Long
I
term?
would say that. And not in Dynasty.
Sorry,
I'm
okay,
talking
let's
about
take it this year.
Oh, in the
Let's take it
matchup.
this year.
I'm talking about
Oh,
this year.
yeah.
I'm talking about this year.
Yeah, this year I'd probably go Mostert right now.
For sure.
I'm with Davis
For sure.
on that. For season outlook,
James Cook or David Montgomery?
Montgomery.
I would go Montgomery as well. Davis, look at us, man. This is great.
Look at us. Look how far we've come. I mean, dude, David Montgomery. Okay, real quick. I do want to talk about this briefly. David Montgomery got 21 carries today. I mean, granted, he only ran for like 76 yards. So, I mean, not super
Very
concerning.
Jamal Williams of him.
Yes, but I mean, I do still believe that he has juice. But that is part of my hesitance with Jahmyr Gibbs and why I'm just a little concerned about his outlook. It's not like David Montgomery is here for like 1 year contract. He's here 4 years, $32 million.
Yeah.
And that's concerning to me because I think he has a specific role of being the bruiser between the tackles. Whereas, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be put out in space. It's honestly going to look like a 4-year version of James Robinson to Travis Etienne, where that's a little concerning to me.
Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, roles reversed perhaps. I think that's a really good point. And it's that contract is no joke. And so still a lot of question marks around Gibbs. We're going to take a quick break and then come back with the segment everyone's always really here for, which is to go a little bit below deck before we close. As we get ready to close out here, it's so good that the NFL is back. But guys, I just want to remind the entire world, we never left. No. The Yacht Club is still rowing forward and we're motoring forward faster than ever before. But guys, this segment for me, Below Deck, has also become almost a counseling session because I'll be honest, I almost did a trade to reacquire George Pickens.
This dude
Mike came back to me.
I
did.
He called me. Asked for
I was
a
tilting.
friend. He asked for a friend.
I said, Dylan, take out the competitor, take out the co-host. I just need you. I need you since the Shady Brook days where we're sitting at the same lunch table. Just tell it to me straight. God. Should I retrade for George Pickens? And he thankfully talked me off a cliff because where I'm at in the league, I'm tanking for 25. And if I get greedy and try to win a few games early on, even though I know my roster isn't good, I'm telling myself, if I trade away from George Pickens, because I'm playing Mike this week, I'll put him on my roster, and then I'll get to, and it's like, I'll get a win. I'll think week to week. But Davis, as you know, isn't that like, it's the temptation. It's the forbidden fruit of chasing a single win. Like, it'll kill you.
Commit to your strategy. Absolutely. Yeah. From the jump. If you have a strategy, granted, and I'm not saying don't be naive and don't pivot if literally you have maybe your entire team starts to get hurt and you need to pivot and make moves or do certain things. But if you have a general strategy that you have literally committed this past entire offseason to, do that strategy. At least see it out, right? But the funny thing, and I do want to touch on that, Mike called me. So Mike calls me and is like, hey, Davis, just a heads up. There's a fire sale going on over here because sure enough,
dirty dog.
It's just full circle. I was trying to reacquire Zay Flowers. So we want to bring back the conversation of when I traded Zay Flowers away for 5 seconds.
5 seconds, yeah.
I was trying to acquire him for 4 seconds, and that got turned down.
You don't say.
you don't say. So it just no. I say that that actually was a serious conversation. He had called me and but no, you please just commit to what you're doing. Because if not, you're going to lose value in one way or another. You're going to lose value if you're tanking and you try and win games in like lottery balls. And then if you go from tanking
now.
Yeah, and then if you go from tanking and you decide, or if you go from being like win now and then you want to tank later, you're behind the mark. So it's just commit to what you're doing, pivot as you need to, but do not in the first week try and just buy wins.
Listen, I heard the dun 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 dun, and I tilted. Okay, like I just tilted. It happens. That's part of why this segment's here.
Literally like an ex-girlfriend that you can't get over, Josh. It's literally what this is.
I want to ask you, because I've been very critical of some of the moves you've made in the offseason as a active rebuild type of roster, getting rid of those picks. I'm like, oh, you should hedge your bets. You should save for a little bit of future
I
capital.
want to know why Davis is laughing.
This man said I've been really critical of you this entire
I hate your
offseason.
strategy, by the way.
Dylan and I go back.
it's
I can
awful.
say that. I can
my
say
God.
that. But no, I want it to Davis's point though. Like you've spent those picks on younger or more long-lasting players to give you both a chance at playoffs while also making sure you're all in on this season. You're not tempted by a rebuild right now, or are you? Is there any part of you that's like, what if I just punt?
No, it's just not in my nature. And this is where I'll say, like, Davis shakes his head, he knows. I am legitimately and I've said this probably in every episode, FTP. That is my philosophy because I just don't think I will ever be able to commit to a tank until, and I'm learning this as a dynasty player, until I understand the value of what picks can get me. But I'm not patient enough, I think, is part of the issue. And so I had 25 seconds last week. Ask me how many I have now.
And I want to commend you. You just traded a 25-second.
Right.
We don't even know those prospects. You traded a 25-second. That's not your second. You have no control over the second. None of that. And you got Adam Thielen, who, yeah, he's old, but he's going to score points this year. I don't care if he's hurt right now. And then a Damian Harris. So you're buying cheap points. You got a 2-for-1 deal on a prospect that at some point, one or another, you're going to be able to get that 25-second back. So
exactly.
kudos to you.
Thank you, Value King. I got the nod of approval. But what I will say is, like, that's the thing is, like, if you're going to trade your picks, don't just trade them to trade them. Like, you have to be a little bit strategic. The reason why I made that trade is I'm not high on the 25 clash. Could that change? Sure. But I also have time to buy those back. But, which I hate your strategy, Josh. You see, I took
some haters over here. We just got some haters.
I'm just playing. No, but I think you should be strategic in how you do so. Like, I went and flipped that 25-second for 2 depth pieces that I'm not going to start them now, but I could use them later on down the road, like you were saying with injury. That way I don't have to deter my strategy. So I think it's just how you use them. And no, I'm not looking for a rebuild at all. And it's kind of hard because when you're in our league dynamic, like all the picks are so isolated onto 2 different teams right now. If I wanted to tank, it would be very difficult. So I wouldn't do that.
I hear you. Davis, listen, we all know that we've talked about your team. You are in a championship window. Is it just smooth sailing on from here? Just continue to believe and continue to make sure that you set yourself up for the next week?
Yeah, I just got to get out of my own way. And I got to hope and pray for that there's no injuries and that Pat Mahomes is not getting 23 points every week. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good. I just got to get out of my own way and not make stupid decisions and not try and pivot and get too cute. But
now I heard a rumor, and I'm hoping it causes you to tilt and to consider a rebuild. Are you attending the USC game? Are you going to go see Caleb Williams live? Is that maybe going to force you to sell everything you have to go get a 24 first?
I've thought about it. I have thought about, but whoever owns those 24 picks is out of their mind and prices them probably at the same price as Pat Mahomes. So, but yes, I am going to see Caleb Williams play against Stanford. I am a Trojan fan, fight on. So can't wait to see him live and direct. I'm actually going to be on the field for a little bit. So I'm kind of going to size him up, see what he's looking like, see his just see his mobility. But no, I'm ecstatic, and I will for sure I will report back on Monday on the things I see, because I'm assuming that he is going to carve that Stanford defense up. You
heard it here first. Dynasty Exchange, we are sideline reporters.
Sideline
reporters.
Absolutely.
Sideline access.
I just hope it causes you to tilt and sell off some of your players.
It probably will, to be honest.
Get lost in the moment. Thank you so much for joining us again, guys. Until next time, NFL weekend is upon us. We're very excited.